we sort of starting to lean towards this thought that FIA at this point is bringing a bazooka gun to a dartboard challenge competition. They're trying to do everything, which I'm okay with, because as long as they experiment for a few races, they figure out what's working, what's not working, and then go back and change the things. Before we get into anything, we are your hosts. We're going to start it a different way today. We are your hosts. I am Akash, and the other host today is a birthday boy, our co-host.
I'm Sarang. I think I am Sarang.
Happy birthday, Sarang, who's just returned from I don't know how many pubs, how many drinks, and how many beers later on this very special Imola GP recording. It's gonna be a fun one there, that's guaranteed. Because I think, like, if you were to ask Sarang, how many beers are you down at this point? Do you have a count?
I guess I can just barely count it on my two hands. So yeah.
I think let's go the nerd route and be like, it's N+1 because you've got one more in your hand right now.
Man, I just finished it.
Hello folks, and this is F1 Fan Fiction. We're going to be discussing Imola GP today. As you know, the race weekend was brilliant. For some, maybe it wasn't, because we've seen some contradicting and mixed emotions on the socials this time. Let us know. Let's talk about this. Let us know what you thought about the weekend. Was it as exciting for you as it was for us as well? Because for me, I had fun. Sure, the last few races, 2022, the race games completely changed. So their expectations have gone up high. But a sprint race again, after a year. Let's get into it, man. Let's start with sprint race. What did you think about that race start from Charles on Imola sprint?
Okay. Before we even get into the start of the sprint race, let's talk about the sprint race itself.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, do you think having a sprint race is the correct thing when the cars can follow each other?
No. So I think last year too, I think both of us were of the opinion that sprint races shouldn't be a thing. Sure, it's getting the crowd, blah, blah, blah. But I'm all the more a proponent of the fact that they should just eliminate sprint races.
Yeah, right. I think even the commentators kind of said the same thing. And it makes sense to me. Okay, considering that even without DRS, cars are able to follow each other. Why do you have a sprint race?
Yeah. I think, and for me, right, like, the race day has this charm where, sure, someone's been able to put themselves in that qualifying, which, sure, over the span of the race, they are going to get to their original car and driving space at a P10 plus whatever, right? But that shuffling that happens leads to some time gain and lost for race leaders who are going to lap that person, which we lose. Because what ends up happening is we see that for some laps during the sprint, but by the end of the sprint, or like the last 1/3 of the sprint, the race pacers are shuffled around well. And then the feature race is just like a good train of decent pace following each other.
Yeah, man. I think it was a good idea back when it wasn't sure that people will be able to follow each other.
Yes.
I think Liberty Media did a good experiment. Luckily for them, the new rules are working as intended. So they should just scrap it. But regardless, we are here for Imola GP with a sprint race and an actual race. And I think we have a record broken with Max being the first driver who got qualification, who got sprint, who got the race win, and the fastest lap. So
max points.
I think
Max
we need
gets
to talk
max
about
points.
that.
Yeah. Max gets max points.
Right?
Brilliant weekend from him overall, right? Like, at the start of Imola, I mean, Charles had that launch booster of a start. First of all, that was a very surprising start for me, and I was like, this was a done deal, right? Because from the beginning of the season, we've seen that Ferrari's got that pace, that once they are in the lead, it's like Hamilton in that 7-year hybrid era, right? So he's gotten that lead. He's off. It's done. Let's focus on 2+. But we'll come to that part later. But like that launch booster of a start, and then the way it ended, where Max was eventually able to get that brilliant overtake, charging on Max, more like that Saudi GP thing that we've seen again. Lovely from Max at that point.
I mean, I'm impressed. And our theory goes on that Max either wins or just parks his car.
I mean, statistically, it's been happening. Yes, sure.
It's 50-50 till now, so we are right. But anyways, Max, I think he won the last championship. He is the reigning champion, and he did everything right, man, this season. I can't fault him with anything. The sprint was insane. The overtake that he did was really good. And I don't know what to talk about. I mean, honestly, I have praised him a lot last season. I don't want to continue that this season, I guess. So I'm not going to continue on this, but awesome. Flaws.
I mean, he's still trying to be that aggressive driver that he is. He's starting to crib. I wouldn't call it crib, but I think like he's starting to go the Hamilton route at times when things aren't falling right. So there are these annoying flaws that are coming up, but I think like overall Max is doing good. What I want to come back to is the race start, because what kept happening during the race start is a wonderful following / sandwich that ended up happening between Perez, Daniel, and KMag. KMag, first of all, this weekend has just been fighting. So we'll let's dedicate a segment entire to KMag, which will probably be towards the first 1/3 end of this episode. But there was a brilliant sandwich there. Daniel just skimming past through. KMag was able to start in the 4th place, was again brilliant. Just quite a lot of shuffling happening there. Alonso, again for the second time, has given us like a beautiful view from his car. So, yeah.
Okay, do you mean the engine that we saw later on in the race, or what things earlier?
Yeah, right. Like he's been delivering view after view on all fronts at that point. But I don't know what if FIA has this rule of tires, which they've obviously eliminated from like that Q2 to race. You don't need to get those tires in, but I don't know if that's carried on in from sprint to race as well during these sprint weekends. But what I noticed interesting was that everyone started on softs. Because I guess like it was a 21 lap race, so might as well just go all out with the tires. Except Haas. I don't know why they started on mediums. Haas and Latifi. We don't care. But Latifi was on mediums. So except these three, everyone was on softs, which to a certain point for me made sense. But then towards the fag end of the sprint race, I was like, probably Haas and Latifi have gotten their strategy correct, that they're going to launch because they've got mediums, they're going to go the long race. And these guys are going to have tire degradation. So, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, man. Okay, before we talk about that, one thing I needed to point out is that people who aren't really used to the sprint race will be super confused why we are talking about softs when there was rain on the track on the main race.
Yes.
Right? And here's my point again. Like, this is really confusing, I guess, to a lot of people. But anyways, let's talk about the sprint. I think this was a good opportunity for teams to test out what is the right tire for the main race. And I think, as you said, like KMag was one of the few people who went on to mediums, and they tried. I think they kind of found out. And sprint race, I think at this point is the only good advantage of it is that the teams get a data point to decide what the strategy should be for the main race.
Right.
So I think it was evident that the medium tire was not great for a short race, but I think a lot of people utilize that regardless in the main race because of
Fair
the rain.
point.
Yeah, but I think sprint should be honestly removed. I mean, again, I don't want to get back to that topic, but honestly speaking, it just felt to me like the sprint race was just a preview to the main race for the teams. And people just experimented with that. Yeah,
Fair
right.
point. Fair point. Fair point. Fair point. Yeah. Well, folks, comment, man. Like, what do you think is your opinion on should the sprint race just be eliminated? Because this is the fourth race where we at F1 Fan Fiction think it's just it. To be very honest, every sprint race has become very boring through the past 1.5 years. So yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. Anyway, switching gears, you know how these folks get other people on the radio? Don't you ever wonder Christian Horner is always available for a radio chat with Brundle?
Yeah, man. Okay, sometimes I really wonder, does he really do any work?
Right? Just stare at the screen very intently to figure if something's going bad. That's it.
Exactly. He is probably the only team principals who is always free during the race, talk on the radio, because it seems it's very disproportionate. I have never seen Toto on the on the team, the commentary.
Yeah. No one. Maybe I think like maybe Zach or who's the Aston Martin guy? Alfa Romeo guy, right? They sometimes pop up, but Christian's always there. Like every race, he's always there.
Yeah, man. It's super weird. I think he is basically probably the PR person for the team.
Team principal defined in a different way, sure.
Yeah, man. I think we now have seen Bottas 100.0, 1,000.0, I don't know, whatever that is.
Yeah,
I've lost count. Infinity, whatever. Yeah. But man, he's coming alive, right? Like Merck is probably not missing him though, but whatever. He.
Yeah, there's this nice video of how he's become famous of that Heineken and being traditions, right? So it's sort of now moved on to having traditions being celebrated alone in your trailer to now being revered by the whole team because you're doing whatever with Alfa Romeo and P5. And that's true. Like I feel like he's gotten his mojo back in this team because it sounds like he's being heard. He's come out and made a statement that his opinions are mattering more than, I don't know, is Mercedes a toxic environment? No comments. No comments.
Anyways, let's move on from there.
But yeah, something brilliant that at least was happening throughout the weekend was there were these trains forming, 3-car trains, which just the players kept shuffling around, but the 3-car trains always kept constant. They were always there, and the players kept shuffling, and they were able to follow each other for a very long time. I was able to take a screenshot, which probably you will see now. Is you can see how like there was too many dots just following each other. Yeah, it's just a super train that gets formed on tracks like these.
I think we need to address this that in the main race itself, right? There was one thing that people noticed. Okay, first of all, of course, the start was wet, so everybody started on intermediates. Yeah. But one thing that we noticed that even when the track was kind of drying up, the stewards were still not allowing the DRS, right? So it seems like they were kind of experimenting with is DRS really needed? Because especially with the new regulations, it seems like following is a lot easier, and it doesn't seem like DRS is anymore needed, because in Bahrain, right, what we could see is that Max and Charles were kind of playing their games with related to DRS, because they had to brake, and that was kind of definitely causing some dangerous situations. Think about it in the main race. when not just the leaders, but when everybody's doing the same thing, you can see some situations where people break too early just to get that DRS advantage.
Yeah.
And I guess FI is kind of thinking of, is DRS really needed? Should we get rid of it? So we could kind of see that they were not enabling it even after when the track was kind of drying up. So
yeah, they went on to like lap 34 before they enabled it. Because again, it's the same thing, like multiple trains forming at that time. I think at that time, lap 26 was Albon, Gasly, Hamilton train. Right around when sort of Max tried to overtake the trio. But folks, let us know what your thoughts are again, because we sort of starting to lean towards this thought that FIA at this point is bringing a bazooka gun to a dartboard challenge competition. They're trying to do everything, which I'm okay with, because as long as they experiment for a few races, they figure out what's working, what's not working, and then go back and change the thing. So sure, we think DRS can be removed because the cars are able to follow each other very well. Let us know what you think. But yeah,
you know something,
well,
Akash. I think FIA is doing the right thing, that as we ourselves have been doing, very honestly. Just shoot bullets into the dark, see what hits, and just follow what hits. I am telling you,
man, someone is listening to us from FIA. They've been, if we could copyright something like this. Anyways,
but,
joking
aside, I'm happy about it. Yeah, though.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, why not have someone from FIA follow us and follow our tactics? Why not? Totally. But let's come to the main race at this point, right? And something that if we can bring up some tech data too, let's do that later in the episode. But like that race start from Max versus Charles was somewhat of a brilliant race start, in the sense that they had the exact same reaction time, but that 0 to 200 kmph speed that they kept showing for Max was where that advantage lied, and he was able to pull away from Charles and get that great lead at the start itself.
Yeah, the start I was actually kind of surprised about, because till now what we have seen, it does seem like the Ferrari car has the advantage in terms of the engine power at least. But after this race and the sprint as well, I'm not sure about that anymore, right? Because it seems like Honda probably has some reliability issues that they need to work about. But it does seem like a fast car, because definitely, he didn't finish 2 races. I give it that. But both of the ones that he won, it was brilliant, because I don't think he ever had a competition with Charles for both the races that he won. And I'm kind of scared that he can become Hamilton 2.0. I don't know. I'm somewhat concerned about that.
First few years of this decade, we say Vettel's winning so much that fans are going to be bored. The second half of the decade, we say Hamilton's winning so much that we're going to be bored. And are you saying that the first half of this decade, we're going to be like, Max is winning so much, we're going to be bored?
Yeah, might as well be, right?
Could be. No, but there was much drama happening there. I was somewhere also hoping that he doesn't just nope out again towards the final few laps of the race, but touch wood, nothing happened. It was a smooth, clean race for him. With that race start, we did see a couple of people just launching up ahead, right? Like Vettel and Russell, for example, were up by 5 positions after that race start. That was just super brilliant. Yeah. I mean, Vettel, sure, but Russell, that was surprising that he ended up gaining 5 positions there.
He just keeps surprising me. I have kind of been a fan of his, in the sense that he did brilliant things in Williams, but I never thought that he would be beating Hamilton fair and square.
I don't know. Let's bring this conversation in while we are here, right? So Mercedes, Hamilton and Russell at this point. So I have a theory. where I don't think it's at this point about Hamilton versus Russell. I think it's more about Mercedes versus the other teams, because the first few races, Mercedes has realized that they are nowhere in the competition. What do they need to do just to get there, right? And there's two things that put me to this theory. One is, there was a radio message around lap 23 where they were telling Hamilton that he's not gonna have the flap adjustment that Russell had.
Oh, yeah.
That's one. And at the end of the race, it felt like Toto was telling Hamilton that we just gave you an abysmal car. So sorry about that. And then Hamilton being very, nonchalant in a way, but still knowing what's happening. No worries, Toto, right? So that to me tells that they are doing this on purpose, where they are making minor tweaks and adjustment to Russell's car, who is definitely a good driver and can push that car to see how much of those pushy adjustments can work. And then at the same time, they're making like solid, bold adjustments to Hamilton's car and using that raw decade of experience from Hamilton on an F1 car to see what feedback can we get. So I think like this is just fooling us fans in some way for a major bounce back that Mercedes is going to do. And again, coming from a non-Mercedes fan.
I think, you kind of convinced me with that argument, because honestly, before this, I was under the impression that Russell is probably somehow fitting the car better than Hamilton. But it seems to me that you're right, that Mercedes is really like doing a baseline, with Hamilton, just trying to understand the car itself. They are just letting him run the base car itself to kind of understand what the weaknesses are. And it makes sense with the most experienced driver on the team to kind of figure that out and, give out the experimental adjustments to the new driver and try to see what works. So, definitely, I think Mercedes will bounce back. Hamilton too will definitely bounce back. I don't think that he is in for the championship for the season, but he is gunning for probably like the next few other seasons though.
He's not retiring. As much as I would want him to struggle for that 8th championship, he is definitely not retiring without that 8th title. But talking about strategies and team dynamics and what might be working and what might be not, there's two uncanny team dynamics that I want to get your opinion on, right? So the first one is Red Bull, where we've got Max and Carlos, and then the second one is McLaren, where we've got Daniel and Lando.
Wait.
Wait.
You just said Max and Carlos, so I'm a little confused.
Sorry, Max and... Let's take this again.
Dude, wait, 1 second. I have drunk some beers. You haven't.
Well, I can... I'm high on caffeine, let's put it that way.
Okay.
But so we've got Max and Perez, and then we've got Lando and Daniel, and what I want to focus on is Perez, Daniel, and then let's bring in the third person into dynamics, Carlos, because of that incident that he had, right? These three switching teams into the new sort of team last year. We are still seeing two people sort of trying to fit in, which is Carlos and Daniel still trying to fit into their teams, whereas Perez has sort of like shattered that competition out.
It's surprising, right? Last year, I remember talking every single episode that Carlos is fairly beating Charles.
Yes.
What has changed? I mean, the car, if anything, has gotten better. I don't understand what's going on.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's been two races since we have been seeing that Carlos has been getting out in like...
Lap 1.
Yeah, right?
He's being Mazespin what Mazespin was the first race, yes.
Yeah, I mean...
He's the new Mazespin. There it is. He's the new Mazespin.
I was trying to, mellow it a bit. I was trying to think of a better term, but yeah, for sure, I agree.
Okay, while you're at it, so let's come to that particular incident during race start, right? Like Carlos versus Daniel. Now, if you see the cams, Carlos is ahead on that turn. He's going into that left turn and is about to take the his right turn, and he has that race line. He is more on the inside, and then suddenly you see a tap from Daniel, and both of them just kissing each other in a very romantic way. Right? But if you listen, turn ASMR at this point. But if you go back and listen to the post race interviews, right? Carlos is like, it was his mistake also at a very significant level, because he's like, I did sort of open up the line to him for him, allowing him to come inside and making it my mistake, because then I tried to close the gap when he was already inside, and then one thing led to another and we were out. So Carlos has sort of like forgotten his mojo, and then Daniel sort of gotten probably so hungry for a proving point to himself that I don't know what's happening. What are your thoughts between those two?
I think
the incident particularly.
I agree. Like the incident in particular, I think it was a racing incident, as the steward decided, because I don't think either of them was at a fault. Both of them were, it was a wet race. They didn't have the best conditions, and both were trying to do good. And it just seemed that they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And things happened. They both were kind of at fault, but they both suffered at the same time. One more than the other, of course. But I think Carlos should he needs to step up. Charles definitely is able to deal with the car more. He clearly is the number one driver in the team. It felt to me that Carlos possibly was the better driver, at least last season, but maybe not. Maybe it was something of a Mercedes kind of a strategy that Ferrari was playing last year, as we just discussed, where they were probably giving Carlos the better parts in terms of experimentation. And that's why we saw him ahead of Charles. Probably. But this season, it's very clear who the number one driver is. The mistakes that Carlos has done is pretty weird. I don't have a lot to talk about him.
The last incident that I want to sort of bring up from that race start is, I don't know if it was a domino effect of these two sort of spinning out, but I felt like yesterday Mick Schumacher just wanted to reverse race on that track, because he was just spinning out. He did that twice. The first time he did, he almost... No, I don't want to call it almost, because he knocked out Alonso's side. He knocked out half of his rear end on the right, exposing the guts and the intestines of the car. And then he did it all by himself somewhere middle in the race, and he kept spinning to the opposite side. At this point, let's change the gears a bit and go towards our meme section. I think I'm starting to love this section of ours on our show, because it's a good segue into the Reddit, the Twitter, the nonsense world that entertains us too. So let's see. Sarang, you wanna share your screen? See, let's see what we've got in our curated list today.
I think it's time. Okay, let's go.
Meme section. my best Japanese manga animated whatever version of it. Let's see. What do we have? Who's Bottas gets fucked?
I think. I think this we really need to discuss.
Oh man.
Bottas getting fucked by bad pit stop. Right? I think those are traditions for sure.
Yes.
We saw that last season as well as this season.
Man. Hey, but the good part is, this time it wasn't his fault. Last time it was his fault.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, this one, ouch, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah, regardless of what effort he puts in, somehow his team always, kind of disappoints him. But regardless, you got a superb result. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And especially that fight at the end, man, I was gunning for it. Like that P4 fight that he had with Russell, I was gunning for it. I was probably hoping Toto's gonna be on the radio, Russell team orders at this point, but obviously that would have been the joke of it. Nonetheless, nice meme here.
Yeah, I think the next one, pretty much everybody noticed this, is
pitting so that you will have fresh tires. Cut to pitting to come out. Oh man, pitting to come behind Lewis so you can lap him. Oh, this is gonna hurt. And that's true. Because he did lap that trio once, and then he lapped, and I was like, oh, Lewis just went by, so he's gonna have to lap them again. Ouch, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah, man. Like, honestly, just seeing Verstappen lapping Hamilton was really surprising. It kind of felt bad to me. I wish Hamilton was not so far behind, but yeah.
It was what it was.
Okay, next one. Listeners, you have to check this out on our socials, because this is none other than Akash who created this meme.
Oh, this one. Oh man, there's no music to this one on this recording right now. But folks, go to our TikTok if you're not in India and you have access to TikTok. Go to our TikTok. I'm probably put this on YouTube as well. It's the car porpoising with some nice music in the background, man. And it was funny because all these cars were just bouncing so much around on the track.
Yeah, man. Porpoising is a real issue. Very honestly.
Look at that helmet.
Forget driving at 5Gs or whatever. I cannot think driving this car which just jumps up and down constantly.
But that's the thing, right? Imagine that. So far, these drivers only had lateral and longitudinal Gs. This year, they have vertical Gs as well, like 1. So it's crazy.
I want to see the AWS statistics on the vertical Gs, man. that has to be it, because it's insane. Like, I saw this even in the last race. How much they porpoise. Yeah. I think the last one that we really need to check is.
Oh yeah, the Top Gear trio. This was so true this race. Yeah.
I think Hamilton, had probably the first experience in his life where he was just following other cars. He was the, NPC as such, the non-playable character in the game.
Oh man. Who's who? So we've got the trio here. I think we've got I don't know who's following who in this clip here, but let's just put this into perspective. Who's who?
I think
who's Albon, who's Ocon. Who's Ocon? Who's
I think
Albon?
Hamilton has to be James Way, man. The expression just fits him for somehow.
Yeah. He wants to overtake. He's also flicking that indicator light that he would have switch lanes, but he just can't. Sure, yeah.
Actually, you know what? I would say not Albon. It was Tsunoda who was Jeremy Clarkson. Because he was
with
really
all the
leading
cussing,
the train
with all the
such.
cussing too. Yeah, with all the
Yeah,
cussing
right?
too. Yeah. Sure.
And then Gasly being Richard Hammond. I can kind of think of him as that.
Yeah, he's in his own world thinking about something else. Sure. Yeah. This is good. On to our main discussions back. One segment, one guy I want to dedicate a entire segment to at this point is KMag. This is one guy that we've deliberately not spoken about last season because we just didn't want to talk about him, right?
By the way, also because he was not in the season as well.
You know what I mean? Like basically, whenever he was there with Grosjean. But that's a fair point, actually. But this season, man, it's especially this weekend. This weekend, it felt like he was completely into battles, battle after battle during sprints, during the feature race.
Yeah,
He was constantly fending for himself, putting his foot down just to stay in the race.
yeah, man. I think he somehow has struck gold because he definitely wants to fight that fight, and he has the equipment with him this time. And till now, he did try, but he never had the right tools to do that. But Haas has somehow, by sacrificing the last season, been able to develop a car which can fight this season, and he is completely taking advantage of it, isn't he?
True, definitely. Because there was like a 4-lap long battle between Russell and KMag, and it still wasn't over then. Then, right as soon as that ended, he was again in a battle with Bottas. I think like towards later on in the race, Yuki and KMag got into a fight as well. So, and it's not like the Haas that we've seen where it's a clear cut overtake. They're not even in the game. I wouldn't talk about Mick much at this point because he was trying to reverse race yesterday. But then for KMag, he's showing that true potential for Haas that probably Gunter's wanted to see for Gene Haas at that point. Proving his entire worth at this point. So, yeah, I'm super happy with what's happening with KMag in this season. But you know what? Talking about battles, that's gotten me thinking. Talking about battles, there have been some lovely battles yesterday. We've seen Perez versus Charles. That was a lovely battle, right? They wanted to overtake each other. That went on for so long.
Yeah, man. At one point, I really thought that Charles might just pass by Perez, considering the previous races that we have seen, but. Perez had the pace entirely. He was just short of Max. Other than him, I think he was the fastest man on the track. And Charles was, we have seen him performing really well, but I think this race wasn't his. And Ferrari was missing just the edge as such in terms of pace because Red Bulls were really, clearly faster. And let's point this out. The last time Red Bull had 1-2 was when Ricciardo was on the team. Right?
2016 Ricciardo and Max 1-2.
Max. Yep. And here we are with Max being the number one driver this time and somebody else being there. So, Perez, brilliant defense, brilliant driving.
The undercut working fine too. Like he did come behind. He did come out after Perez, after Charles on that thing, but obviously he pitted earlier, so he's got that warmer tires and he was able to take on Charles. The other battle which didn't last much long was Stroll versus Tsunoda. Tsunoda wasn't in the limelight yesterday. But I feel Tsunoda had a brilliant race day, brilliant feature race.
For sure.
He was overtaking, he was being bold, he was being confident. And I'm starting to think like with more focus from this guy, he's a very good fighter. He's a very good contender out there.
I mean, we have seen him last season fight Hamilton, right? And he did pretty good. And I think he's carrying that forward into this season as well. We saw that train forming with pretty much Tsunoda was leading it for almost the entire race. And he's doing really good. I think AlphaTauri have a really good combo with Gasly being the number one driver. Though, very honestly, his performance this
It's not
race
been
was
as last year's start.
Yeah. I think he's still kind of, understanding the car probably, and somehow Tsunoda has lucked out. And, we are seeing this duality, and I think pretty much every team where one driver is doing really well and the other isn't. And that also shows up in the leaderboard as well, a lot of races.
Yeah.
But I think this is the first season, so people are still figuring out. Gasly, I hope he finds his mojo, but Tsunoda, man, he's been doing really good.
Albon almost got that P10 yesterday too, because I think he went from P20 post sprint to that P10. But
did he pit this race?
he had to, right? So obviously,
oh man.
But speaking of battles, I mean, I don't want to undermine, and because we were on AlphaTauri, Gasly's wonderful defense on Lewis, not letting Lewis pass, even getting into that fighting distance for Lewis, for that matter, right? It was like that meme of that widescreen Gasly is all what Hamilton saw.
Yeah, man, seriously. I remember listening to the commentators constantly saying Hamilton is getting there to go into Gasly. They are like, I think this lap is where Hamilton gets Gasly, and then oh no, I don't think this is the lap he gets Gasly, and that happened 36 times or something like that. I don't know.
That went on forever.
Yeah.
Let's see. One last item that I want to sort of bring up is I noticed Ocon had some sort of a time penalty. I had no idea why. Why did Ocon have some time penalty yesterday?
Right. I think Ocon had a time penalty because of the pit stop, right? Because I think there was some impeding that basically Alpine released him into the path of Hamilton when Hamilton had already joined the pit lane. And fair enough, it was a slam dunk penalty especially with the how FIA has been dealing with penalties this season. I think I like it that they are being just handing out penalties left and right whenever you break any rules, and I agree to it. That's what they should be doing anyways,
and then making it racing incidents when it is, because Ricardo versus Carlos was a racing incident, no one got points.
Exactly,
lovely,
fair enough. And it was a slam dunk penalty, and they did it, so I'm happy about it.
True. That pit stop, I remember everyone came in and then everyone wanted to leave out at the same time. Which that's a good point you raised, because that's gotten me thinking to Science's statement from the post-race interview, where he says that folks causing a red flag should be penalized. I, for one, personally agree to this. Sarang, what are your thoughts?
I think Lando would oppose that.
Obviously.
And Charles.
Yeah. By the way, he did quote both of these people. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I think I totally agree, because I think that is a loophole right now that, we saw this in Monaco with Charles, and I think something similar also happened in, I don't recall what race. There was another race last season.
But Imola was the same thing, right? Imola was the same thing with Lando securing P3 at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. He crashed. He got the P3. I think there needs to be a penalty for that, because I think at this point, by doing this, you can easily secure an easy win, and it
with
should
no
be clamped down on. Yeah, exactly. And I think since we are really trying to make this sports fair, by really giving penalties to everybody, they should clamp down on this.
How I was gonna just end the episode. How can we end this episode without mentioning Latifi? Was he trying to deploy spikes at that lap 45? Something came off his car. I was like probably Latifi is into that mode where he now decide who gets to win this race.
No, dude. I realized that that was a cry from Williams for donations, because they clearly stated that our parts are just flying off from the car.
Oh God.
Okay. for people, don't donate to Williams. Donate to F1 Fanfiction.
Yes.
You
We are
can
in
find
dire
us.
need. Yes, please. On that note, we end the episode here. Folks, do let us know what do you think about this red flag fining incident and comment from Science, because I'm pretty sure the internet's going to be torn about this. Yeah, on that note, we will see you next week, hopefully with a special guest. The circus and the carnival travels to Miami for the first time. It's a Silverstone sort of design track, revamped at a different geographical location. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be whatever. We'll have more
I'm
fun.
skeptical.
The last thing that I want you all to comment on this is tell us what you thought about the slurring and the drunk sarang. If this is something that you want, we normalize this and we have like a drunk sarang every episode. But we also want donations for medical costs for all the drinking at that point.
Yeah,
on
man.
that note, these are your hosts signing off.
Bye-bye.